Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yo, 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 yo,
Let's
yo,
go.
yo. What's going on, traders?
I wake
How
up.
are we doing, my AMC apes? I wanted to jump in straight into this video and cover AMC for you guys because I promised a little someone that I would do a macro video on AMC, what I think the macro targets on it would be. If you see this macro falling wedge, macro falling wedge play out, right? And you see a little bit of a recovery relief, right? Or relief recovery, whatever the heck, English. And what I believe to be happening, right? So I wanted to give that to you guys. But before we jump into it, slap the subscribe button. It would mean a lot if you guys like and share because we are on the road to 2K subscribers. Come on. All right. I appreciate you guys' support and just bear with me. I got a little bit of a sickness going on here as well. But on the macro chart, I drew this up as a macro falling wedge. Now, you can see it however you want. I'm sure there's other ways you can draw this, but I just found that this particularly seemed to be very important trend lines, and I will outline that because of a few things, right? I left it here, and this was your macro pennant back during the 2020 to 2021 AMC revolution, the retail revolution that got me actually into trading and got a whole slew of people into the stock market. This was that iconic image that got everyone absolutely jacked to the you know what, right? Price targets like this. Bull pennant. We're gonna break it. We're gonna go to 1,000. Right? I think at the time it was like $300, $400. However, right, this macro bull pennant, if you take that resistance, right, that resistance goes all the way back to 2021, and you actually broke above it, shooting star candled, and rejected hard. Broke above it, right? Rejected there, broke above, failed to hold, rejected, broke, failed to hold, rejected, broke above, bounce, failed to hold, rejected, broke above, and that's where people started to freak the frick out, right? This thing is going to go to Pluto, and then you get rugged, right? That was the most unholy, disgusting rug of all time. And that is, to me, one of the most macro fundamental resistances on this chart because of the amount of touch points, the significance of those touch points, right? When you go all the way back in time. And then you look at the supports, right? The macro supports. What do you have left? Because AMC has broken through almost every single support that it has on this chart. But I will tell you, this support remains. Your double bottom support line in which you found bullish divergence on the RSI. I can pull that up if you guys want to see it. I was hiding the RSI, but you can see here you made a higher low, right? That's a higher low on the bottom there. And then you made a lower low on the price chart. So very, very clear stuff. That was one of the most iconic bottoms on this chart because you squoze multiple thousands of percents, right? But going back to where we're at currently on the chart, you found a bottom. And that bottom was 2024. Now you are looking to find the bottom once again. And I know we had multiple different versions of this falling wedge, but I do believe that the pain, right, the majority of the pain, in my opinion, not financial advice, would be over. Because what you're doing right now is you are quite literally pricing in bankruptcy. And do you think that this stock is going to go bankrupt? I just want to ask you guys face to face, peer to peer, genuinely, do you think that AMC is going to go bankrupt? You have $400 million in cash left. You do still have a decent amount of debt and liabilities, but you just posted one of the biggest surprise EBITDAs of the freaking century on this stock. That is bullish. In case you guys are unaware what EBITDA is, that is cash flow before taxes and liabilities, interest rates on the debt, right? All that kind of stuff lumped in to the profitability that you have before it. Now, if you can resolve this debt, this overhang on the company, what you do is you clear yourself, right? You freaking clear the clouds and sunshine comes raining in. But First, where does that take us, right? I do believe that if you do not find a bounce somewhere in this like 110 area, you're going down to $1. And nobody wants to see below $1. It is just factually true. Gotta stay caffeinated and motivated. All right, let's get back to it. Nobody wants to see below $1, but there is potential that you slide into this wedge as far as 80 cents. That would be abysmal. Here's why I don't think that will happen, right? Slap the subscribe button. But the reason I don't think that will happen is you have so many different reasons to love what IWM is doing right now. Genuinely, guys, it is looking like 2020 is playing back the exact same card. Like 2020 pulled out the freaking Uno reverse. And what you're seeing here is that same COVID crash, right, that led you to this break of the flat top resistance and the gap up into the squeeze season for almost every single risk on asset, going up 52%. What are you doing right now? And I would challenge almost anyone to tell me that this does not look the exact same, and not just the price and not just the chart, but the economic policy, guys. You have the money printers booting back up. The Fed is buying treasury bills. Trump just put one of the most bullish Fed chairs in Kevin Walsh, in which he has literally said, I am not going to put you in unless you cut rates. That is an economic catalyst to send this freaking index higher. And when IWM goes higher, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes does AMC. Although AMC has literally just been beaten to a pulp, beaten to the ground, but that's kind of why I like it so much. Because when influencers and stock people were saying, oh my God, we're going to squeeze, buy. Up here, that is when I was like, guys, this is kind of sketchy. But genuinely, at these levels of $1 compared to 40 to 50 to whatever, right? With a short interest on AMC of 24%. Hey, not too shabby. Right? Not too shabby. I don't hate these levels, guys. I don't. And when you look at the macro, right? Let's kind of just review, because I promised price targets. Although it's all just opinionated and not fact-based, the price targets that I am personally watching for on AMC are the following, right? We're going to break them down into horizontal lines because they are the most important, right? Horizontal lines, aka your stepping stones or your shelves, right? I would expect to bump my head somewhere around 550 because that was one of the most potent and revisited horizontal levels during this chop, right? I'm pretty sure if you look at the VRVP, that would be your point of control, right? You failed and rejected this level so many different times before rejecting it here and flushing, right? 560 is a level that I'm watching on AMC. The next level, guys, is one that is so important in so many ways. And I want you guys to really pay attention here, because this level of $10 to $11 goes all the way back to that same double bottom that we were talking about, right? On the macro, you touch this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And each time, guys, you have either blasted off or you have found a rejection to the likes that you do not like, right? Just genuinely not a great level. So if you are able to do one of these double bottoms, right, this lower low double bottom into the falling wedge and find a relief bounce, genuinely squeeze these dang shorts out of 24% short interest, which is ridiculous at this point, right? Maybe you do one of these. Everyone thinks you're going to the moon. Lower low at 90 cents. And then, right? Nobody knows. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But that is literally one of the most pinnacle parts of this chart. The next level that I want to highlight, $43 freaking dollars. And the reason I put that there, guys, $43 freaking dollars. That is the squeeze target. Oops, sorry. That is the squeeze target that I am watching closest on AMC, right? For me, unrealistic to believe that this would happen in the next 2 years, right? Unless you see a economic catalyst on this company that can send you higher, or you see some just genuine SEC busting of crime and manipulation, right? The gears of justice grind slowly, but they do in fact grind. I know that that is the case. But this is a huge weekly gap that you could see this on the weekly chart, guys. Typically, when you can see a gap this large on the weekly, I would be shocked if that does not fill at some point in the future. So when you take a look on the macro, and you take a look that you're at practically $1 flat, even if this is a macro investment, keeping in mind that you can literally lose all of that investment, $43 is miles away. But from the bottom there, that's 4,766%. So, like, for me, I personally want AMC to succeed. The AMC community is literally what got me into the stock market. It is what helped me through the darkest times, and the community base has been just one of the biggest revolutions of the stock market history. And that's why I believe we are on the cusp of seeing that once again with IWM about to go to the moon, right? You have a very real opportunity that IWM the next 2 years hits 300, and that AMC finds a bottom somewhere here on the macro. Although hard to believe, I think it's about time that AMC starts to win again. So that is the macro look. There's other key potential areas that I'm looking for, and those are the rest of the gaps here, right? This flush down, I do believe will fill very similarly to Carvana, right? I'll give you guys an example with Carvana. That's not what I wanted. Carvana. New plane. There we go. All right, so Carvana quite literally sat at the helm $400, right? $370. You then flush on Carvana. Very similarly to AMC, right? From 300 all the way down. And this touched a couple bucks, like $2-3. You're now at all-time highs. $486. And in doing so, this macro push up over the span of 4 years, right, is more similar to what I would expect to happen with AMC. Unless you see macro debt kind of changes happen, right? But on the macro, these are the rest of the levels. Whoa, what's my chart doing? Okay. This gap, what does that sit at? $20, $43. I believe there's one here at 13. Yep. 12. Gap fill, gap fill, gap fill. Those are the targets that I am watching for AMC. Now, if you got above that, guys, and you kept going, hats off to you. Do what you want, right? Not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, but that would be insane. And I would be rooting for you guys and so happy that everyone in this play makes money, because genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I want AMC to succeed. And if we are going to see it succeed, we need support like never before. We need a retail revolution. We need a new CEO. I don't know. unless I go on live with Adam Aaron. And I'd love to pick his brain on some of the decisions that he's made personally, to then use you guys to give feedback, right? Genuinely, we need to take back the reins on this company if it is going to succeed. That is literally the only shot it has, is us. So just a thought, right? Just a thought. Adam Aaron did announce a big announcement, and that is still ongoing. He mentioned back 2 months ago that there would be a huge announcement, the big announcement yet, going back, I think it was November, right? He said it was going to happen sometime January, February. As of now, we have not gotten it, but I would expect it in the near-term future that we get some kind of big either debt restructure, and that's why I believe that the bottom is hopefully soon to be over, or, right, a partnership with a big player. And hopefully that can help grow the top line, because AMC has done a pretty phenomenal job of cutting the cost, guys. Evident by their EBITDA showing somewhat really big growths, actually. So AMC on TradingView looks pretty nasty on the macro, but let's look at the micro, right? Because the micro is just as important. What you do in the day-to-day is what makes up these different lines. And you can see here on AMC, you have continuously just capitulated ever since October, right? This slide down has been nonstop. It has been absolutely nasty. But what I'm watching here is, can you get above the 9-day EMA and, can you close above it consistently? You have failed to do that. You got above it here, failed to close above it, and have just been rejecting it and riding it like a worm in reverse. So getting above the 9-day EMA is step 1 to finding a micro chart bounce. Step 2, put in a freaking bottom, right? You need a heavy green candle and a beautiful candlestick formation. And that's going to come into the weekly, right? You have a shooting star candle, a bearish engulfing candle, and a hanging man candle. That is 3 bearish candlesticks in a row. Now, your weekly MACD is actually curling up. So you can see that the bearish volume here is drying up as you have 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row with less volume. If this is going to be a bottom, you need to see buyers step in big here, and for this weekly MACD to flip green, guys. You need to see that, as the last time you saw it was back here in that April bottom during the tariff schmariff news event, in which you ran 61% from 2 up to 4. Now, I would expect something to happen in which you go from this $1 price target up to 180, right? That's going to be a huge level to watch. And then this 205 level. Why 205, right? 205 was your previous all-time low, and I do expect a little bit of hesitancy there, even if you get past it, right? Even if you get past it, a retest of it would be nice, and then you can form a more macro inverted head and shoulders pattern in which you could take the profit target, do whatever you want with it, right? And from that profit target, hopefully, if that was the case, breaks you back into 460. Now, if you were there, right, if you can muster up the courage to get back to 460, you are over so many macro trend lines. So many macro trend lines, including the 200-day EMA. And that is the all-time target, guys. The 200-day EMA on this stock has smashed you down ever since 2021, guys. Ever since you broke that bull pennant, just like this trend line has obliterated you, the 200-day EMA has been unrelenting. So if you are able to get back above it, guys, and force a golden cross in the daily time frame, that would be the first time that you could do that on AMC since 2021. Because when you squeezed, right, from your macro bottom, squeezed, retested the golden cross, and that was the bull pennant that sent you to all-time highs. That is what I'm watching for on AMC, and that was the thesis trading all along, right? I thought you were going to do it here. You didn't, and now you have significantly cheaper shares to potentially do the same thing if you can find a bottom. That is the important clause, right? Find a bottom, stop going to zero, and then hopefully you can write the rest of the story. Genuinely, I want this thing to succeed so freaking bad. It is so freaking bad that I want this thing to succeed. Beyond that, guys, I really just want to say thank you. But on the quarterly chart, this is the last thing, and then I'll let you go. All right. Quarterly chart, guys. Lock in. This is the closest to a quarterly MACD cross you've been since 2021. We said that back here at 280 as well. And if you can see this quarterly MACD flip, right? If you can close a quarterly hammer candle, which would include getting back above $2 by May, right? A bullish hammer candle by May, you will most likely flip this green for the first time since here when you had a 400% candle and a 455% candlestick, guys. So that is what I'm watching for this macro bottom. And if you can see that kind of price action, that kind of important macro development, it is in my belief that this number would significantly lower and that people would begin to exit the stock if you get above the 200, right? You see a quarterly MACD flip. You see IWM at all-time highs. These all play a tremendous part in this AMC turnaround. So that is what I'm watching for, and we'll continue to update you guys on daily for AMC, Gamestop, all the love. So you know what to do. Slap the subscribe button, guys. Remember to get outside, work out, take care of yourself. God bless each and every single one of your families. And remember, guys, the best is yet to come. Peace. Woo. Buy the merch. I almost forgot. Buy the merch.